Monday night. I am joined this week by Melissa Smith and Barbara Bessette. It's going to be wow. So last week was a pile of shit. I don't know if anybody noticed this, but it seemed to be
What happened?
It seemed to be terrible all around. Terrible all around. And when I was talking to my two lovely guests this just a little bit ago, as we were about to come on, I was like, "What do you want to talk about?" And there's this little thing called Roe v. Wade. Some of you might have heard of it. It got overturned last week by a Supreme Court that is somewhere between illegitimate and just off its rockers. And I guess let's just dive right in. We knew this was kind of happening. We knew it was going to come because of the leak that had happened about 6 weeks earlier that we were all kind of, ooh, this is not good. But what were your thoughts immediately when it happened? How did you guys react to Friday's news?
Melissa, you can go first.
Okay, so I did find out first thing in the morning because one of the volunteers hit our Discord server before I even saw it on the headlines or on Facebook that it had been overturned. So I was not surprised, but I was still shocked, and that kind of set the tone for the whole day. It was just this is really depressing, but we knew it was coming, and we have gained our rights before from nothing. We'll just have to do it again. And that was my whole day, is okay, how did we do this before so I could do it again?
Okay. Interesting.
So I was getting ready to leave for a barrel racing, and I was showing my friend who was going to check on my horses while I was gone, where my horses were. I get a text from my friend, and she's like, 50 years of precedent is gone. And I was just like, what? And then I just looked at all my other notifications, and it was every news outlet, that you get all those news alerts, and it was there. Unfortunately, my friend who I was with, him and I differ on this issue. And I am thankful for him, though. He wasn't he just dropped me off at my house. And so I held it together. I had to hold it together for 10 minutes because I'm I can't, really talk to him about this. But also, he also wasn't ha ha ha. He was very gracious, I guess would be the way to say it. I get home. I'm supposed to be at my mom's house in 30 minutes after this. And I just sat on my kitchen and just bawled. And I texted her, and I'm like, I need a minute. I can't come up right now. And so I cried for 30 minutes. Again, like Melissa said, it's not surprising. It's shocking, but it's not surprising that this was happening. I mean, I didn't even read anything on it. I just was I can't do it. People are texting me, and I'm I drive up and we go to Laurel for a barrel racing. It was hard to process a lot of it. That night I didn't have a very good run. It was just a lot going on. And then I went for a run. I did some self-care, went for a run and listened to 80s Madonna music. I couldn't listen to podcasts. I just could not. I needed to do some processing. So yeah, I was a very, very rough morning. And there was, had I known this was coming, I would not have signed up for a 3-day barrel racing because it was my mom is very pro-choice, and that's where I get it from. But yeah, it was, it's an indescribable feeling, and people are texting me and so it's gut-wrenching.
How did you make it through the weekend when, all the news is processing, but nothing new is happening?
Yeah.
So I ended up spending a lot of time sort of attending to my younger friends, and I felt very much like I had taken on the role of my mom when I was young, telling me about the time before, and just sort of laying out a path of what do we do next? How do we remedy this? It's not going to happen overnight, but how do we remedy this? What do we need to do? And so I think in a little way that sort of I had to compartmentalize my own grief. so that I could still keep everybody else moving forward.
Disassociation, yay!
Yay!
It's a trauma response.
I'm great at it.
Yes.
So I was really angry. I have another friend who he's definitely on the same side as me, and he in 2018 he's just like, oh, this is just a position that Republicans run on. They're never really going to do it. And then when I went to session in 19, he watched some of those hearings and he was like, oh my God, I was totally wrong. I had no idea. So I texted him and he's like, I can't believe I was so wrong about it. I'm like, but you did come around to it. But I was just like, I fucking told you so. Excuse me. Sorry. I told you so.
This isn't the radio. You can say exactly what you fucking want.
I dropped many F-bombs.
I'm like,
it's all Jill Cohenauer's fault. So just
I knew it. But then I was just like, and he's just like, well, he's like, I know you told me and I didn't listen. I'm like, but you did come around and, he's made huge strides in so many things. And so over the weekend, I really just, again, I really dissociated. I was away from home. I was with my mom and, I had other things that I was trying to do. I had to pick my other horse up from the vet. I had a barrel race. And so just really focusing on that, but also like, holy cow. And today I actually met with the other Melissa Smith and I just started crying like the first minute I saw her because it was just like, wow. So a lot of disassociating as well. we're a healthy group of people around here, but I mean,
it's okay though, because we do have a long road ahead of us.
Yeah. And
so just dealing with what we can deal with at any given moment in time is still healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Barb, actually, you work in public health, so you're going to see the ramifications from this all over the place. One of the things that we are very lucky about in Montana, and this is the thing that allowed me to get through the weekend. Last week was really shitty. I had a friend who dealt with a massive COVID issue, and that caused a bunch of trauma earlier in the week. And then, of course, Eric Fever passed away at the end of the week last week. So we've lost one of the people who's literally fought to make Montana a better state for everybody forever.
Yeah.
Which is terrible. And then this thing on Friday happened. And for me, the whole, put it in a box, try to get through the day, try to get through all of the pieces that are out there. And just do what you can to wake up the next morning. Sometimes that's all you can do, and that's enough. We're going to see a lot of the fallout from this over the next couple of weeks as people really get into what's going to happen. What is it all about? We've got in Montana, of course, we do have a part of our Constitution that grants explicitly the right to privacy, which our state Supreme Court has upheld in interesting ways. And one of them is, of course, with abortion. And our current AG, who should have his license revoked, let's be clear, shouldn't be allowed to practice law because he never learned it. That's all there is to it. He has already asked the Supreme Court to overturn that prior ruling, saying it was wrong. The Supreme Court has declined. They've gone full Barbosa on him, disinclined to acquiesce to your request. Means no, Austin. But they are, there will definitely be a case coming out. We have Governor Gianforte, who's already, now that he's back from tasting wine in Tuscany, when the left half or the right half of our state was flooding, right, left, I don't know, the east half. The east half of the state was flooding. Sorry, I'm looking at a map. Is that in Braindead? Anyway, it was flooding over there. He was in Italy. When he came back, he's like, oh, well, this is a win for life. And I'm already talking to legislative leaders about what we can do because they've been threatening to pull a special session for this forever because we don't have a trigger law.
And we do know he's not afraid to sign an unconstitutional law.
Oh, yeah. He's all about that stuff. If it gets him what he wants, he'll do it. That's why he closed off a river. So I do think it's interesting because I come back to queer history every time. Just, how does this intersect with my community? Because as you might know, I don't have a lot of uterus in my relationships. But I do care very much about the people that have them. And I'm constantly amazed at how much I just didn't know about how the body works in a pregnancy. Like I have several friends that have gone through pregnancies recently and had their babies. Their babies are cute. They're mostly healthy and delightful. The babies are all healthy and delightful.
Mostly.
The people, mostly. But the like the smoke screen of miracle that is put in front of everybody about what happens to a body through pregnancy and birth is a ridiculous amount of bullshit. And having one of my friends who has been absolutely unwavering in her desire to educate everybody about what goes through it and all of the things that she's had to deal with has been just an absolute eye-opening experience. And I'm like, and I'm coming up on 50. Should have learned this in middle school or at least high school. But we didn't. So I think that's, one of those very interesting things. But it does come back to me to the queer community about how this goes through. In 1997, which I would point out is 6 years before Lawrence v. Texas, which is one of the things that Thomas has said that he wants to have this court review again, which is his code for strike it down, is the right to privacy in your own home. And in 1997, in Grayson v. Montana, the state Supreme Court said, yes, privacy rights extend to all adults. End of discussion. You don't get to attack them for being gay, for being queer. And we've had a fundraiser for Pride pretty much every year since, called the Former Felons Ball. I don't want it to be the Felons Ball. I'd really rather it not be. But we have in the state a constitutional amendment that gives us privacy, that gives us some of these rights that just have fallen by the wayside at the national level. And in order for them to change that, in order for these bigots to change that, they are going to have to get a supermajority in both the House and Senate, and they're very close to doing it. But they also have to trigger a couple of things, because one of the things they forget is nobody that holds elected office can be at the Constitutional Convention. So none of them that get elected, Teresa Manzella, you can't go, which thank God. She shouldn't be allowed out of her house until she learns to read.
That
was my nice way
with better people, though.
Right. Oof. Well, it kills me because Barb, you're a horse girl, yeah?
Yeah.
And
in a better positive sense than what
you do. You've got two horses. Marty's your new one. Super cute. You post lovely pictures of him all the time. Manzella claims to be a horse girl, but she hangs out with somebody who starved 17 horses nearly to death. So I think that just goes to prove what sort of a good person Manzella is. She's not. So I do think it's interesting, all the stuff that we have going forward with Roe v. Wade. How do you think this is going to play out in the next couple months with politics? Like, how are you hearing? I'm assuming it's Monday. You're back at the races. You have to do all the things. Melissa, you were giving blood today. I cheer you on. I cannot do it because of the last pandemic, and they're still like, ooh, gay blood. It has too much glitter. I won't let it save me.
The questions I had to answer, I'm like, I know exactly who they're asking about, and it ain't me.
Right.
Yeah, that's another whole thing and ridiculous.
Well, I just do the whole thing until they remove the ban. I love that in the last, over the pandemic, they were like, well, now it's just if you've done it in the last 3 months. And I was like, no. You either remove the bigoted ban or you're not getting my blood. My blood, which is O negative. It goes to anyone.
Yeah,
I can save any of the bigots, but they have to pretend for 5 minutes that they're not fucking bigots.
It has been definitely the topic of conversation for anyone that I've talked about, or talked to, not talked about, but it is like the thing that people are going to talk about. And again, I did not doors today because I was working. So also, when you have to be a candidate and then you have a bunch of other, things you have to actually work when you're not retired. So it'll be interesting tomorrow when I go and talk to people, because I think maybe they didn't pay attention to the leak or something else was going on. And Montana is a weird place, I I mean, even still, like, we don't like government in our business. Like, we're not really like, hey, yeah, come over here. And so it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. I know that there have been a lot of people that have reached out, like, what can we do to volunteer? I didn't ask, I didn't take it up for money because I truly felt like it was just monetizing on people's pain, as I like to say, is like people were just, I think they, if they want to help, like volunteering, I think is really the way to ask those things. They can give money as well, but we're seeing a whole new crop of volunteers and a mobilization that we didn't see before it. It's much like after Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, I got a slew of donations from that, unfortunately. That's just the way of the world. So it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. And I'm just going to keep talking to people about the issues that matter to me. And I'm in public health, like Kev said. And so, substance abuse prevention is what I'm running on. And if you really that touches every single thing that we talk about, really. Like you don't really think, well, how does that relate to like reproductive care? Well, if it actually does, because, let me tell you how it does. It does because what they want to do is criminalize women who have an addiction or substance use disorder. And that is a reproductive issue. You could have rape, incest, unprotected sex, condom breaking. There's a slew of things that can come with, substance use. And so people don't usually connect those things, but everything is, a lot of things are connected to substance use disorder. And I think the number one thing is if you will start to see like criminalization of if you have a wine, a glass of wine before you even know you're pregnant. And if that's a person and it can be harmful, that could really be something that you could see in the future.
That's exactly what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really disheartening to see some of the stuff. One of the things that I saw immediately so in the morning I was busy with other things. And then when I finally got around to see what was going on in the news, one of the first things that popped up on Twitter was, remember when the Catholic Church argued that a fetus wasn't a person in a wrongful death suit? And it wasn't that long ago. It was in this century. And The whole thing about that is it's all about convenience for the things that they want. It's never about the thing that they say it is. And it's so frustrating to deal with. It's not just the hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is bad enough. But it's just the absolute self-delusion that what they want is right. So no matter what they do, it's good. And that sort of stuff just drives me up a wall because there's nothing good about these people. And you can get into the religious arguments of is there a God or is there not, but the end result for me, and I'm not terribly religious, like I kind of believe there's something else afterwards, and I kind of hope there is, so I can meet who's ever in charge and have a really long, uncomfortable conversation with them because they're not gonna like it. But if there's nothing there, that's fine. These people that need to have their sky daddy up there looking down on them to tell them whether they're good or not, you're not good people. There's nothing about you that's good if you have to go, oh, well, if I do this thing, I will be forever damned. No, if you can't tell right from wrong on your own, you're not a good person. Point blank. That's all there is to it. And worse, you've aligned yourself in this country with the evangelical churches that we've had. You've aligned yourself with evil people who are lying to you. And you are doing terrible things in the name of a God that you don't even listen to. You haven't even read his book. I know, because if you did, you'd have a lot of questions that you aren't even asking. So I get into it a lot. When I first moved back to Montana, there was the sex ed talk at schools had come up in the Helena School District here. And I showed up because I'm like, I really wish that we had better sex ed when I was a kid, because when I went through middle school, my health teacher couldn't say the words penis or vagina. And I would like to point out, those are scientific terms for part of the body. This shouldn't be hard to do. it shouldn't be something you can't discuss. And yet there were people on the other side that were fighting against it, that were just, and then they were, well, I'm a parent and I should determine when my child is old enough to get this information. And one of those people was a friend of mine from high school. And I turned to her and I said, you got pregnant at 15. You were a grandmother at 31. No, it's not your time. You are wrong because you didn't do it and your parents didn't do it. The generational trauma starts real early because your generation's really short, real short in your family. You're throwing off the curve, girl. Gonna need you to back it up. So there's that sort of stuff that goes on. And it's frustrating on so many levels. And like, it goes back and it attacks part of the community. We see these trans attacks happening. And it was a nice, quiet weekend for trans people, I hope. They weren't really getting generally attacked because we were attacking cis women and they weren't even identifying anybody else that might have a uterus, which was a weird weekend for them. It's like almost kind of got a weekend off, but really didn't get a weekend. Like you weren't the center of the news for once, which was kind of nice, but why you weren't the center of the news was a really shitty thing. And I'm like, oh my God, why can't we just have a weekend that's quiet? Just be quiet. So, more thoughts, Melissa? I looked like I was cutting you off. I wanted to make sure I didn't.
No, you're fine. Because you touched on so many things. Because Pride was this weekend for Billings.
Yes.
Area. Was hanging out with a lot of, like, all my friends who were trans were there.
Good.
And, even when I was talking to people and online and I had it in the back of my mind, I needed to be more inclusive with my language, but I'm so personally affected by this. And 50% of America is affected by this because of our identity as a woman. And the reason that we're being attacked is because of our identity as a woman. I sort of inside forgave myself for the weekend and promised to do better going forward. But body autonomy is a huge issue for trans people. And this is 100% as much an attack on them as it is on cis women. And so it was very much on my mind this weekend, and also on my trans friends' minds too, because they're unsafe in a whole new way. That
true.
In addition to everything else that they were already unsafe over. So, but also circling back around to your whole discussion on sex education and how we should have been informed more in middle school and high school. So this is a conversation I've had with a lot of my pro-life family and friends for decades, is I personally am okay with not discussing with them and trying to convince them that a fetus is not a person. But there are mutual ways that I can advocate for that will actually reduce abortion rates, while also allowing people their body autonomy and protecting the lives of women, because it's just not safe for us to be pregnant from day one. And education is top of the list. The more we are educated on all manners of biology and relationships, the better choices we make. So then fewer people need an abortion. It's not going to eliminate it, but it is going to help both sides of the debate head towards a mutual goal.
Except I don't know that their goal is actually don't have an abortion.
It's not. But I mean, I understand what Melissa's saying for sure. Like, because if it was, they would come together with comprehensive sex education. They would fund contraceptives, and they would do contraceptives to make sure that it's all for all women, because when you just try it on white women, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work on Native women, so there would be so much more, because there is actually, I do believe that, I don't know if compromise is the right word, but there is some middle ground of like funding those things, because studies have shown that those things actually do decrease abortions.
Well, not just
it's-
studies. You've seen actions with Colorado's work that they did
Yeah.
with extending true actual sex education and making contraception available. They reduced the number of abortions that they had in their state on a year-over-year basis by something like 70%.
Yeah.
Especially amongst teenagers. And this is the thing, then you have Texas who's turning around and they're going, well, if you get pregnant, you can't get an abortion for any reason. So whether it's an ectopic pregnancy or it's an unsuccessful melding of the genetics and it creates a child that dies, which happens, you've now killed the mother because of your quest to this thing that, this is the same organization that literally for the 8 years that Obama was president kept chanting about how they wanted to see the birth certificate. It's like, well, that doesn't make him a person in your eye, so shut up. Just sit down and shut up. The things that they're doing are ridiculous, and it's so patently obvious about how what they really want to do is just literally control other people and make them into this thing that they aren't even willing to be. Like, oh, you should be a better person than I am. No, pumpkin, you should be working on yourself. Like, I should not have to come up to you and tell you you're a shitty person. Look in the mirror. It should be obvious. The rest of us can see it.
This is why therapy should be free.
Yeah, I love that plan.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Well, men will literally run for office before they go to therapy. Even though I know it's not just men. So, or cis
and not
men.
all men, but it's all men. There's the whole thing.
Everybody should just do therapy. It is great.
Well, therapy is a worthwhile thing. Sit down and talk about the bullshit that's in your head. Get it out before you inflict it on others.
Yeah.
So, we do have a lot of fights that are coming up. There may be a special session. So let's go through worst case scenario. Gianforte manages to convince enough people to pull a special session in, and they have it for a couple of days to enact an anti-abortion law. What do you think is going to happen in Montana? How do you think it will play out?
I think they're going to pass it, and then I think
and you'll sign it.
Parenthood or ACLU is going to sue, and then we're going to have the back and forth like we did with the voter restrictions. We're going to put an injunction on it, and it's not. Well, no, the law's going to stick until we actually get to hear arguments. It's going to be messy. My opinion.
Yeah, I agree, and I think what will then happen if they can get enough is if they can get a super majority, then they will make sure that the Constitution, they'll make sure that we can't.
So here's the thing. Here's what you're alluding to, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. You think they're going to try to pass a constitutional amendment to remove the right to privacy from the Constitution?
No, I don't think so.
So you mean they would have a law that says abortion is banned?
Okay, so that's what they'll do in the session. I think so too, and that'll get out there. The interesting thing that I think about that is that it'll get an injunction right away. Somebody will immediately sue. It'll probably get an injunction right away, and because it is under a constitutional ruling from before, I think this is where I hope our Supreme Court actually just gets a spine and plucks it and goes, we've already decided this. Thank you for playing. This law is unconstitutional. Have a delightful day. Go home. And includes, we have some great justices. I hope Shay puts in there a couple of rock song lyrics. Maybe something from Lady Gaga that includes the lines, fuck off and die. But I don't know if she has that in the lyrics somewhere, but Lady Gaga, if you're out there, please put it in the song. We have a justice who will quote it. You never know. It could happen.
You make a really good point, though. There probably will be some petitions going around for a constitutional initiative.
And I don't know, and again, I don't know how that would work. But I don't think they would I don't think privacy would go away, but can they make it to be like something like personhood will be how they do it? And then, because Montanans is you take privacy away from us. And I really think
We voted on a
We
person's
love
initiative
privacy.
before, and it failed.
We voted on several of them. They've been introduced every single session since 1993.
Yeah. And they haven't passed yet, but the legislation's already written. Why not just dust it off and try it again? We're in a mood.
They probably will. The interesting one that I think is out there is privacy. They're going to attack that one because it does take, in order for them to remove it, it is the constitutional. It is a constitutional initiative. They do have to make an amendment. An amendment is a very tough thing to get in the state. Yeah. Thank God. Well, actually, no, not thank God. Thank the 1972 Constitutional Convention, the 100 people who actually put it together and said, oh, we should make this thing possible, but not easy. And we should also include privacy in there because things are coming up that look weird. Here's one of the things that I don't think people realize that's tied into privacy. I own an internet company. Right now, we are talking to you over the internet. Right? We are having a very public discussion over the internet, but you don't know where Melissa's house is. You don't know where Barbara is. If she's at her house, if she's at a friend's house. Actually, we don't know where Melissa is either. You can assume I'm in my office because I've told you I'm in my office, but you don't know.
Right.
And our privacy law stops me as an internet provider from usurping that information and selling it off to anybody else. I should not be able to do that. And in many cases, we have social media companies that do exactly that. We have Facebook that is egregious about it. We have Twitter, which is kind of terrible about it. And we have a bunch of others that are just as bad. And every single site that you go to that's like, oh, let me show you this terrible piece of news about this wonderful person, but you're going to click it because it's clickbait, and then they get information on you. They sell your data. No one in the state of Montana has turned around and said, that's not legal. You can't collect that on Montanans. But it should be because our Constitution guarantees us a right to privacy. You as a corporation have absolutely no fucking right to collect my information. None. It doesn't matter what you put in your little click-through thing. It doesn't matter what you do with your pixel from Facebook. It doesn't matter any of the rest of that stuff. You do not have the right because I, an individual, have the right to privacy. And more importantly, along with the rest of that, because the Supreme Court of the United States has decided that a corporation has the right to privacy, they do as well. Except for that now they're saying that, oh, well, the right to privacy really doesn't exist. So in Montana you have it, but in the rest of the states, you actually don't. Most of the other states that have anything on them that is specific to or even ancillary, just tangentially related to abortion, do it through other means. We're one of the only states with privacy enshrined. And privacy is massive because if you don't know what sort of data is being collected on you, go to your Facebook today. Click download my data. It's under security and settings. It's over there. It's under the, your account, blah, blah, blah. And they move it every 3 months, so it's hard to find. But if you need it, reach out to me. I can get you a link to it fairly quickly. But go in there and download your data. The amount of information that they have on you is disgusting. And if you don't think that they are going to use that against you. Women, if you have period trackers on your phones, if you are outside of the state of Montana, delete them. Just delete them. Delete the data. If you don't know what apps on your phone are accessing your private data, especially the health app, on your iPhone, the health app requires you to actively give permission to anything else to access it. But I went and looked, and there were several apps in there that I had forgotten I had given access to, and I realized they have ads in them. They're selling my health data. Delete. Remove access. If you don't know how to do this and you need somebody to take a look at it for you, reach out. I am happy to help you because your privacy is absolutely important. But I can tell you right now, if we lose the right to privacy, the first people that are going to suffer for this is every Republican I know. Because I'm going to find out every piece of dirt on you. I'm going to find everything you do on the internet. Because it's easy. It's easy to look up. It's easy to aggregate. It's easy to put together. And then it's easy to tag you with it and take you down. Because at the end of the day, if you're not going to respect everyone else's privacy, yours goes first. That's the rule that we're functioning under. And I understand that people are like, oh, well, you shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't threaten them. That's not a threat. That's simply a promise. If you put me in a position where my privacy is gone because of your actions, I'm making sure you understand what you've done. That's fair and right. And if you don't like it, don't do it.
Yeah.
Off my horse.
And Montanans like that. When I was in session, privacy is a big deal to us. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a specific reason that, even in 72, when they figured, that's like our history is very, we don't like people in our business. Like, we're just like, we're living our own life. And I remember in the 21 session, Kev, when they were trying to do that internet bill that they were trying to get. Which one was that? I'm sorry if I can't remember exactly. I was texting you though.
Yes, I know. It was what they were trying to do was make it so that porn couldn't go to Montana.
Oh, that's right.
It had to be filtered out by the ISP. And I had to get up there and explain to them, it is technically feasible for me to do this because I can identify porn. I've seen a lot of it. I know that's a shock for many of you. But it takes a long time for me to sit there as a human and filter through all of the things that you're looking up, Derek Skis, because most of it is terrible. And in order for me to do that and meet the requirement that whether it's filtered or not, it runs at the same speed, your speeds are just going to be slow all over the place. You're going to make a request for a website. I'm going to file it. 3 squirrels are going to try to type it out or chisel it out into stone, and we'll see if you get your picture from Facebook in 6 weeks. That's how long it's going to take. And that sounds like a joke, but the truth of the matter is, in order for me to filter out porn, I have to see it. So you're asking somebody else to come in and look at the weirdo things that you're looking up, Derek Skis. And nobody wants to do that. You don't even really want to do that, and yet you still do.
Facebook mods have a mental health crisis. Because human beings have to, at some point in the escalation process, be able to make that judgment call. I mean, that is the definition of porn. I know it when I see it.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And that there's still, even if it is, you're filtering out porn, is there a legitimate use for what you're looking up? Are you doing research? Are you studying interactions? What is it that you're doing? I mean, there's plenty of reasons that I can think of that people want to have it there. And for all the people that get upset about porn, I love this one. All the people who get upset about porn seem to forget that the only reason that technology has really advanced is porn. Trust me, the internet doesn't exist because of dinosaur pictures, although those were the first pictures on it. The internet exists because they could show boobs. Sorry, the dinosaur pictures were good for the nerds, but then the nerds also realized, oh, look what I can send. It's the same reason that instead of, the VHS won out over the Sony format is because Sony said that they weren't going to sell the machines to make their Betamax. They didn't sell them to porn companies. They wouldn't let them reproduce porn onto Betamax. They're like, oh, that is against the Sony brand. VHS would, boobs, bring it. And so every porn in the world was available on VHS. So every duplication house in the world had VHS and nobody had Betamax. So everybody bought VHS. Betamax was the better technology by 1,000%, but everybody bought VHS because we're human. Welcome to it.
We're really bringing this around all the way from road to porn. But it's a privacy issue.
And you have all these cases where, I'm almost surprised that Thomas didn't put in there that he'd like to revisit the First Amendment case with Hustler v. or was it Larry Flint versus the United States? Because it's a free speech thing. Well, then blah, 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 blah. He's just chomping at the bit for that. But this is what it comes down to. Either we live in a free society or we don't. And some parts of it you may not want to be a part of. That is your choice in a free society. Others may want to be a part of it. I will never be a horse girl. Why? I am terrified that a horse is going to stomp on me. They are massive. Also, I would point out that when I was in high school, I rode a horse and its name was Missoula. And that horse did not like me, and I can't blame him, really. But that doesn't mean that horses shouldn't exist in our society.
Right.
Just because I have no affinity for them. And that's the unfortunate part of these things is we have so many people that are into, well, what I know is right is the only things that are right and good. And I must spread them about like salmonella peanut butter on everybody's sandwich. Is that your puppy?
Yeah, I don't know what she's barking at, so I was telling her to be quiet.
The rule is you have to bring your puppy into the frame so that we can.
Oh, come here, Julesy.
Come
here, Julesy. Oh, shoot! Be quiet. I have my mom's. Come on, Jules. Jeez! Come on, Julesy. Okay, so I'm babysitting my mom's dog. Now my dog is barking. I don't know what the hell's going on. This is Jules.
Well, the party started.
Aw,
Shoot!
hi, Jules.
Oh god, get in the frame. Wait, this way. She's
There
like, oh
we
my
go.
god. This
So
is Jules.
cute.
Yeah.
Because everybody needs a pup in their life.
Oh, I have like too many animals, but I also like. It's like I don't like motorcycles. Like I'm terrified of them. I think they are.
Well, they bite.
They terrify the this one guy that I went on a few dates with was like, you don't like motorcycles, but like you ride like a 1,500-pound animal. I'm like, yeah, because they're safer than motorcycles. But I'm not like telling, people like, well, you shouldn't be riding motorcycles and everyone should own a horse instead. Like, I don't care
Well, the
what
horse
you
has
do.
a mutual self-interest to not crash.
Exactly.
The motorcycle will just do what you tell it to do.
I love it. I love that.
But the horse can also decide, I'm going this way.
Oh, yes.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that is also true.
And I feel like that's an argument I would get into and lose a lot more often than I need to.
But no, people say that they're like, but they have their own minds. I'm like, absolutely, but that's okay. Like, we like different things. So how boring would life be if we all like the same stuff? And yeah, and I think you can like what you want, and it's not my business to tell you don't like motorcycles.
Yeah. So as we come into the summer, how are your campaigns going? I know, Melissa, you were giving blood today, obviously, and you've had a ton of meetings that were happening. How is everything else going with, rounding up volunteers? Because you are in what is traditionally known as a very red part of the state, which is always just sort of been a conventional. It's a conventional wisdom thing, which I would point out is neither conventional nor wise.
Well, I think that it's a default assumption because Montana is red, and we just haven't tried to change that at a grassroots level, I should say. Mm-hmm. So, and speaking of which, the rest of the Chaos crew says hi, Jenna and Denise and Carol.
The Chaos crew.
The Chaos crew.
I would please when you send them a response back, one hi to be on the show not next week. Next week is a holiday. The week after. Need to have everybody from the cast.
By the way,
is when?
Carol it's her 60th birthday.
Today?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah. And so, we signed up so many volunteers this weekend, like gangbusters. There was the rally on Friday evening. There was Pride all day. There was more rally over the weekend. And so, like, we must have 60 new volunteers, I think. It's a giant number. Interestingly, when I'm canvassing, though, I'm asking people what their issues are. It's not really abortion or even guns. Although I'm sure we could probably talk about it and come to, a civil conversation. But, it's still public safety and, the crime rate and affordable housing. And so.
Which all feel like the same issue.
They are. Yes, they really, really are. Well, I mean, if you look at, the statistics of who gets abortions, it's married women who have 2 or more children, usually 2 to 3 children, and it's because they've reached their limit and just their limit in what they can handle financially, what they can handle with their time, what they can handle with their attention to the children they have, with their ability to work and provide for them. So yeah, being able to have affordable housing and provide a place for your family and your life is really a core survival issue. And that did not go away this weekend. No. Nor the public safety. We, here in the Heights, we had more sirens over the weekend. I don't even know what's going on anymore. It's hard to keep up.
That's not good.
Yes. So it is, in some respects, all the activities we had going on this weekend was really great because there were a lot of people paying attention and wanting to get involved and wanting to feel like they're achieving something to make up for the mess we're in right now. But there's still people still have people concerns.
Yeah. Barb, what about you? Same thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just, talking to people, getting volunteers, raising money, doing all the stuff that I did in 18. I pretend 2020 didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, and now my
Unfortunately,
cat
we
is,
can't do that.
oh God. Here's Peaches now.
Aww.
Me and my circus. Okay, bye.
All of a sudden, she has 2 monkeys, a lemur, and a crab.
I know.
We don't know why.
Who knows? But just, I mean, like 2020 of like how to campaign, because that was just, I didn't. The traditional way, phones don't work as well as in person. So getting back to like definitely making sure those Democrats know that I'm out there again, that I am here talking to them, and then also talking to leaning Republicans and people that I know that maybe are strong Republicans but are my friends because they know me. Because Great Falls is a small place, and as you all know, that we went we had a historic, just every seat got flipped. That was blue, now is red, and it was just an unprecedented, which I don't even know if unprecedented is the word anymore. It's like every day something unprecedented is happening. So
yeah, it's just distressing.
So really just making sure that people know that we're out there, making sure that Dems or Barbara Bessette supporters, Melissa Smith supporters, the other Melissa Smith supporters, know that we are out there, talking to people about what really matters to them. And I do believe that I will hear a lot of this because it comes down to what you want to do. And again, like I said before, it just stretches to so much. My job in public health is to make safer communities and healthier communities. And that is so many different things. And having access to healthcare, having access to affordable healthcare is definitely one of those things, because you can't be healthy and safe if you don't have those things, especially in, like you talked about, housing is the thing. And I don't know if you guys saw, but Great Falls is suing the church, one of our churches here, for their homelessness encampment. So the city of Great Falls is. So trying to work on those kind of, issues to make sure that we're providing, homes for people that need it. And those are big things. And I just got on their homeless coalition, and I've only been to one meeting. So I'm just trying to get involved with like, what do they need from me?
So hold on, back
as
up.
A citizen.
You have a church that has a homeless camp?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to look up it and I'll send it to you right now.
And the city is saying you can't have this, you can't be helpful. So a church is actually doing a good thing, and the government is like, no, we can't have that. How very dystopian timeline are we?
So what it is we have, and it's right downtown, and they're saying that it's all the businesses around there and everything. So what it is we have the rescue mission, which is great. Like, it has a purpose in our community, but there's sometimes like they won't accept certain people. Like if you're, you can't be on drugs and alcohol. And as some of us know, that treatment is really, really, it's hard to get, it's hard to do. You have to go back so many times. This is a little bit more like, okay, we're trying to help in a different way. And so this is like some people that might have substance use disorders going there. And then they have this encampment, and now this, like, they've had so many complaints, and now the city is suing the church. It's difficult. And so I'm trying to, instead of, going on Facebook and saying this, and this, I'm trying to, talk with them and go to their coalition and see what they need. When I get into the legislature, what can we do to make things better? It's I'm going to send you the link. I'll find it.
I'm interested. Yeah,
I'll be interested to see about that too. There's so many things that are going on. So we've had many rulings from the Supreme Court over the last month that have been terrible. They kind of peaked with Roe v. Wade. They were terrible again today. they are terrible in many, many ways. The Miranda rights ruling was stupid. The ruling on the coach doing prayers on the 50-yard line was really bizarre because they didn't even deal with the facts presented in the case. So it's literally one of those things where it's like there is a lot of overwhelmingly bad news that goes on, and I want to talk really quick before we wind up about some things that you can do to protect your mental health. One, talk to somebody. If you feel like things are so bad that you can't be here, that you have to, that you're feeling and having those conversations in your head, that we have, I swear to God, everybody's had them at some point. Talk to someone, reach out. The new, Barb, you can tell me if this is true, and I think it is, the new 988 number is working. Is that up and running?
I know it was supposed. Yeah, I will look that up. We'll look it up too.
Looks like it's not up yet, but it will be up sometime in July. But you can call
July 16th.
There we go.
So middle of July. But until then, 800-273-8255. If you're having an issue, you can reach out to your local health clinics and county health throughout the state of Montana. You can reach out to your friends. Some of you know me, some of you don't, in various places around social media. And some of you may not like all of my politics. I may not like all of your politics. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee there's something in your politics that I fucking hate. Call. I am happy to talk you off the cliff, because it doesn't get better without all of us. So, there's a lot of this is stressful, and a lot of this has put many people into very bad places because they were already in bad places before these rulings came down. And I don't have magic words that can make it better for everybody. And I don't have a way to say, we're going to fight this, and by this date, it's going to be better. I don't know. But what I can tell you is I'm going to stand there with you. We are going to fight this, and we all need to be a part of it. And the only way we make it better for ourselves and for everyone else is by still being here. So it's very important to me. There's so many things that have gone wrong. And what?
And voting.
And voting. I mean, you can't vote. If you're dead, you don't get to vote. I mean, as much as Butte would tell you otherwise. And I only say that because my grandfather voted for at least 10 years after he died. It's fine. This is from Fred Sargison. Thanks to all three of you for the conversation this evening. It was like accidentally landing on a small island in a tempestuous sea and finding some thoughtful, smart people with heart and verve who know how to make me hopeful. I hope so. I mean, at the end of the day, none of us got into politics because we really want to be in politics, because I will tell you straight up, politics is bullshit. It is so hard and so dumb. And running for office is a popularity contest, which I am not interested in winning, because I don't usually care what anyone thinks about me. I stopped that when I was 12. Like, somebody's like, oh, you're fat. I don't care what you think, and you're a horrible person. Moving on. So, so running for office for me was very sort of, I don't understand why I'm supposed to care. But I care enough about the office. I care enough about the job that actually has to be done. That's why all of us put ourselves out there. Nobody that's running on this side of the aisle is doing this because they think they're going to get power, especially in this fucking state. Like, this is not about, I'm going to be the most powerful person in the world. I'll put on my white suit and look like Boss Hogg, but I am not going to be I won't even have that much power. Like, the Duke boys still going to be fine. So, but there is so much that needs to be better for so many people, and it feels very overwhelming right now. I want everybody to know that we are all sharing in those feelings. I don't know what that was. I heard something in the background.
Self-care. We were talking about self-care.
It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't me.
Self-care. Yeah. But take care of yourself and take care of your friends and be there. And if you need to scream, this is one of the things. Like, everybody thinks that primal screaming therapy is not helpful. I wholeheartedly disagree, because there is nothing more cathartic than standing on the top of a building overlooking a bunch of other stuff in a downtown area and screaming at the top of your lungs. It's also bad for your voice, so don't do it that often, but it's very worthwhile. So that's what I want to have. Do you guys have any final thoughts tonight?
I'm all in with the primal screaming. At the rally that we had on Friday night, it was wonderfully exciting. We had more engagement from the cars driving by than like most of the other rallies I've ever been to, honking in support. There was one guy who stuck his head out the window and started calling women shameful things, but then I got to primal scream. Our body, our choice, to drown him out, and it was just a beautiful experience.
That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, I just want to, restate what Kev said is please take care of yourself. As someone who has not always done that in the past, please do that. And if you have access to, again, honestly, like a counselor, and you might be someplace where reach out to the WCA in your area. They might have free counseling. Or another place does, or the school that, if you're near like a university, they might have to get some kind of clinical hours for stuff. Or if you're a student, you can go to your student health services, and get counseling that way. There's, my counselor lives at Dillon now, but we do virtual stuff. So there are some options. And if you don't know, please, are we going to give like where you can find us at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
you could reach me on my Twitter, which is at Kev Hamm. You can reach me on Facebook at Kev Hamm. You can reach me on Instagram at Kev Hamm. You can reach me on TikTok, The Real Kev Hamm. And my phone number is public in most of those places. Plus, you can reach me through like Montana Pride. So
yeah, and so I am at Bessette for the number 4 Montana, all spelled out on Facebook. But then my Instagram is Bessette for number 4 MT on Instagram and Twitter. So if you do need something for like some kind of mental health services, obviously I'm not a counselor, I work prevention, but I can help you to see if there is something in your area that might be able to provide those counseling. So, or coaching or whatever, may be in your area, which the great thing about virtual now is that we got to really see how much we can do virtually. I was already meeting with my counselor virtually, but now if you live in rural Montana, and I mean, again, there is some internet. If you actually have internet, also same thing on reservations. If you actually have internet, which can be spotty, you can get help. And that's something else we got to make sure that we get people internet. That's utility now. Like it's part of our life.
It should be. I was kind of running on that.
Yeah. As Kev knows. So, if you do need help, some kind of finding services, please reach out. I know that it's really difficult in this state, and that's why we have high suicide rates. Like there's a lot of different reasons, but take care of you. Do something once a day, even if it's for 5 minutes of just like crying, which seems to be my favorite one.
Yeah. And it's okay to walk away from the headlines for a while. Yes. Absolutely. They'll be there when you come back.
I promise you.
So yeah, absolutely.
CNN will survive without you for 7 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And, to contact me and, and the great network of volunteers and candidates that we have here where mental health is top of our priority list. My phone number and my email are right at the top of my website, electmelissasmith.com. And that's my mobile phone number. You can text me, you can call me. I will respond. Absolutely.
I'll toss that up so that people can see. I feel like I'm an adult. I managed to type all that in, and I don't think there's a typo.
Well,
if there is, please let me know later.
I think, Kev, that you should have those that are watching, there's another Melissa Smith running in Great Falls. Yeah. She's the other half. So we have a Senate District 12 because I'm House District 24, and then she's House District 23. So we share like the same Senate district. So I think you should have both Melissa Smiths on here sometime.
I definitely want to. Very much.
That would be fun.
We're Twitter friends now.
Yes. Tonight we have on the show the Melissa Smith. I
Yeah.
believe that's how you pluralize it.
I would love that. So
Yes, because that won't be confusing for me and everybody else.
I know that's what I'm trying to do.
I'm just putting it out on the table in case the other Melissa is game that we could totally do the twin thing.
I
Yeah,
think
I
it would
love
be
it.
awesome. I think you need to have both get the blonde hair and every day have the same coordinated scarf just to mess with people.
I'm
I
down.
love it.
I would howl with laughter because you know it's just going to cause the old white men to go, one of my eyes is broken. One of my eyes is broken.
Well, I can tell you that they will. So Jade Bar, who was one of the other urban native women that I served with in 19, they got us confused constantly. And she's from Billings. And they'd always be like, representative from Billings. And I'm like, no, I'm from Great Falls.
But thanks for
Wrong
proving that you're
one.
racist.
They always
We
got
can't
us
tell
confused.
apart.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I have very, like, her hair was short, my hair was long. She's thinner than I am, so I always felt bad.
They are white men and they are terrible. Let's be quite clear about how bad it is. So, on those rather positive notes for the night, thank you so much for joining me for another conversation, which I think is great. I want to keep these going. I might change them back over to Politic Boom now that I'm not running for office anymore. And bring more people to them because the other candidates, we'd love to have them on. The Chaos Crew out of Billings, I think, is doing an amazing job, and I want to get you guys in front of more people so that they can find out who you are because it's very important. So, again, my guests tonight have been Bessette and Melissa Smith, and I'm super happy to have you both here because you're great to talk about. Hopefully, next time you're on, we'll have some positive things to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, politics show that, right?
Yeah. Are we going to change it to something else?
Yes. You know what? I'm going to talk about knitting because you get really long needles. No reason. And on that note, anyway, thanks for joining us tonight, folks.